Hello everyone, this is Andrew AJT62 and this is my speedrun of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 80% in 22 minutes and 20 seconds. Now this was done on the Wii Virtual Console, the original Wii. The reason for that is it has less lag and faster loading times, but in terms of compared to N64 it's mostly the same. It's also version 1.2 of the game by default, and you can also play 1.2 on N64. So this run was actually, there's quite a lot of backstory for this run, even though it's only 7 seconds faster than my previous run. This was actually an offline run I did a few months ago, when I was just, about to go to bed and I kind of wanted to do some runs. And I usually stream all my runs, but because I just wanted to do a few, and I was also, talking to people on the Smashdot chat, I just wanted to just do a few offline runs, which is unusual for me, but I decided to do anyway, and I managed to pull off this PB. So if you're wondering why I didn't upload this run was actually done on April 1st. Since it's barely faster than my previous run, I didn't really get around to it, and I figured I could probably beat it anyway. But then, after when I got home from college, I started having hand problems, so, I have tendonitis at the moment, so I'm not able to play for, at least not for a little while. So I figured in the meantime I should upload my best run. There's actually a few parts of this run where I muted, just very small 1-second parts, and one's coming up right here. That was just because I was talking to people in the Smashdot or Melee Netplay chat, and whenever people PM you or something happens on there's a big loud sound that plays, so I just didn't want that in the final video. But the final video itself, all of the actual video is there. It's just some audio portions I muted, which are very short. And the timing is fully accurate. It's 22 minutes and 20 seconds. Another reason I hesitated to upload this is because I actually had to retime it. The splits are all redone. It was because I split slightly early on the final Ganon hit, and I wasn't sure that it was actually a 22:21, but I retimed it, and now it's 22:20, which is what of course it's always been. But so the splits you see on the left are indeed accurate. So this is the any percent route. It's the older one. There is a new any percent route for the Wii Virtual Console, not the Wii U Virtual Console, which does a new glitch called Get Item Manipulation, where you get a bottle in the Deku Tree with a glitch with Deku Nuts. But this run does not do that. This does an older route where you get a bottle from Kakariko Village. This route is slightly slower. It's about a minute slower on this version, and in terms of other versions, it would be around a little bit slower than the IQ as well, which is the Chinese version of Ocarina of Time. But this is still the most popular route. The new route with the Get Item Manipulation glitch is pretty hardcore, and mostly you would only go for that if you're going for the world record, because that's heavily RNG or luck based, and in that type of route there's only a 1 out of 5 chance of you actually getting the glitch quick enough to save time. Otherwise you lose a lot of time and it's just a reset. So most runners do not do that route unless they're going for a very, very, very good time. So I'm getting the sword here. This is pretty much the fastest way to get it. Interestingly, it's possible to skip the sword, but it's no longer faster even in that new optimized route. So it's also extremely difficult and barely saves any time. It would be faster in this route, but it would only save about 9 seconds. And on this console, it's extremely difficult to do due to some angles on the control stick, making the Mito skip glitch very difficult. So you're going to see a lot of tricks in this run if you've never seen an any percent run. The first thing you might notice is that I'm doing a lot of walking backwards, also known as backwalking, and that's actually one of the fastest ways to move around without the help of other items such as bombs, which you do not get in this run. So you're about to see another huge backwalk here just to get to the Lost Woods very quickly. Another popular form of movement is side hopping, which you also saw a little bit in the sword maze. That, as a child, is actually technically can be faster than backwalking. However, for that to be faster, you would have to actually side hop frame perfectly. You'd have to hit the A button on the first possible frame every time you land, and even then it would only save just fractions of a second. So side hopping everywhere. You might see it in a tool-assisted speedrun where they play the game frame by frame, but in a real-time speedrun, you're only going to see it in certain movement areas. So here I'm actually using a setup to get a very precise angle with Link, and with a nice jump slash, very tight timing, you can clip into this block and escape the forest very early. So that's used in many categories. And the main goal of doing this is to head to Kakariko Village, and the reason we want to do that is to get a bottle, which is one of the most broken items in the game. So another reason why my time is not as competitive, with a world record time, is I do not do a glitch in this run called the Void Warp. And the Void Warp is a glitch in the tower collapse, which saves 2 minutes. You essentially do a hyper extended super slide, which is a very fast kind of recoil kind of movement, to put it in terms of someone who's not too familiar with the game. And that allows you to clip into the tower itself, and it sends you to the bottom of the tower, and that actually saves 2 minutes, but that trick is extremely difficult to do, but I'm looking into learning it. Here's an interesting trick called the West. This is similar to the trick I was describing, but a little bit different. You do a recoil with a jump slash into the water, and you hold the ESS position on the control stick, which is the extended super slide position. It's basically slightly to the right from off-center, just outside the control stick's dead zone. And that puts Link in a little sliding state, and if you do it normally, Link will turn around in place. And what's interesting about it is that it locks your speed. So it actually locked the speed of that jump slash recoil, and I was able to go all the way to Kakariko very quickly. And another little bonus from doing that trick, the West, the water extended super slide, is that you can skip the owl, Kaepora Gaebora, and that's very useful because it just saves a bunch of time of having to talk to that guy. The Cuccos are a pretty interesting part of the run, annoying as well. They're actually heavily RNG based. They all start in the same... The goal is to collect all the Cuccos and put them into the pen, which gives you a bottle, but the only problem is that while the Cuccos start in the same place every time you enter Kakariko, they move randomly, so you can actually lose quite a bit of time from the Cuccos just moving into bad positions. And this run I was actually not too lucky with the Cuccos. I actually lost quite some time, a handful of seconds from the Cuccos moving into bad positions. Here they weren't too bad. You can throw them in precise ways so they all end up at the pen. But in terms of actually running up and collecting them, it could take longer. Another problem with collecting Cuccos is that you can't roll, which is another very versatile form of movement in this game. Not as fast as backwalking, but it's a lot more, versatile, and you don't have to turn around. And you cannot roll while holding a Cucco, and you also can't side hop, but you can backwalk, so you'll actually see sometimes it's worth it to backwalk, even though you have to turn around, because it's much faster than just walking normally with a Cucco. Here's another bad RNG part. Sometimes this Cucco can be right there at the top of the ladder, but instead he walked all the way up that hill, and I had to roll up there and then walk down when I was collecting him. This was a minor mistake here. I think I missed the sword slash on that Cucco, which would have propelled him forward, but that's a pretty small time save because he does eventually run forward anyway, but a little bit not exactly where I want him to go. But overall, the execution in that bottle was fairly good. Definitely some mistakes, but I do think I lose a little bit of time, if you see on the left for my PB there. If you're not familiar with speedruns at all, that's a program called LiveSplit, and it essentially lets you time your run into different segments, and you can see how you're doing compared to your personal best time. So I get some bugs here. That's another very important part of getting the bottle. The bottle wouldn't help too much if you didn't have bugs. I actually paused an extra time there. I wasn't sure if I saved properly, and it's sort of difficult because you have to reset the game here, and my Wii at the time was actually behind my laptop, so a little bit of finicky pausing there, but not too big of a deal. So if you save the game and quit, you end up in Link's house, which is a very convenient thing because it's way faster than just going back there manually. And another backwalk here to get into the shop. So we collected 40 rupees throughout this run, including the red rupee we got in Zora's River. So that allows you to have enough money to buy a shield. There's only one time where you actually need the shield in this run, but even if you didn't, you'd still probably want to get it because it saves a ton of time, because it allows you to do various glitches, which you'll see shortly. Also, having the Sword and Shield allows you to just have Mido move out of the way for you. You have to talk to him for a little bit, but it doesn't waste too much time compared to trying to skip him, which would be extremely, extremely difficult. Especially in the new route, you have to go past this way twice, so skipping Mido is just not even considered anymore. Here we get a Deku Stick, which is a pretty interesting item. It has two properties. You can light torches with it because it can hold fire, and it's also actually a pretty formidable weapon. So in terms of damage in this game, the Kokiri Sword, which we got in the beginning, does 1 damage for a normal slash and 2 damage for a jump slash, and the Deku Stick is actually double damage, which is the same as the Master Sword. It's 2 damage for a normal slash and 4 for a jump slash, so that will let us do a ton of damage later on. Another backwalk here. This is another place where side hopping could theoretically be faster, but not for a human. So our goal once we get into the Deku Tree is to get some Deku Nuts, which you can kill these Deku Babas over here. And we're going to need 6 Deku Nuts, and they drop 5 at a time, so we kill 2 of them. So you got to optimize your pauses in the run. Notice I equipped 2 items in 1 pause. That was a little skip I did there. I pulled out the Deku Stick right before I grabbed onto the vines, and that skips around 5-second text with Navi telling you how to climb vines. And we do it again here. We backflip onto the chest and hop onto the vines, and that skips Navi text again entirely. Here's a bit of bad RNG. You have to wait for these Skulltulas to not be looking at you. If you keep moving when they turn purple and look at you, they'll come and hit you, and then you'll fall, and actually Navi will talk to you then. And I was pretty unlucky because they looked at me a lot there. In my previous PB, they didn't look at me at all. Here's a skip called the B1 skip. If you do a precise side hop into a very precise jump slash, you can get up onto this floor here early. And then, right after that, you can jump down the web into the basement of the Deku Tree because the web doesn't load. And here we kill the 2-3-1 scrubs in the order 2-3-1. That's not the fastest way to kill them, but I found out a way to have the final scrub shoot first, so then by the time you kill the other 2, he's ready to shoot again, and it's much easier than the other method. I kind of found that. I'm not sure if anyone else tried that anyway, but it's not the fastest way to kill them, but it's pretty quick. So I did a jump slash there with a Deku Stick, and that allows you to do a pretty neat glitch in this game called power crouch stabbing. When you do a crouch stab in this game, which is just R plus B, your crouch stab will actually do the damage of your last attack. In this case, I did a Deku Stick jump slash, which does 4 damage. So when I do a crouch stab with the Kokiri Sword, it'll actually do the same damage as that Deku Stick jump slash, and it has the advantage of not having a stick break as well, which I only have 1 of. So I can keep doing that and repeatedly do a lot of damage. And then I interrupted my crouch stab with Navi, and that triggers a glitch called the Infinite Sword glitch, where my sword is swinging infinitely, and using a hovering ability with the Infinite Sword glitch, you can actually clip through a wall that's frame perfect. It's called Goma Clip, and that allows you to kill Goma from the other side of this wall, which is pretty important for the next trick coming up, which is pretty much what makes this run possible, called the Wrong Warp. The only reason we did that is actually just so this stone slab that I clipped through just goes away when we re-enter the room. And that is going to give us a clear path to the door for the Wrong Warp. So here we're actually going to just go release the bugs and pick them back up again. And this is going to allow me to do a glitch called Ocarina Items, where if you do a backflip and then press another item and your bottle, it will play another item as if it's an ocarina. And if we do this at the very edge of the blue warp with a precise setup here, we can actually interrupt the blue warp taking us away. And during this, we're very limited on time, and we have to enter this door here at a very precise frame. And what's going to happen is it's going to try to take us to the Kokiri Emerald cutscene, at the same time where it's trying to take us to the basement of the Deku Tree. And it's pretty complicated, but essentially the game gets confused and ends up taking you to Ganon's castle, which is very convenient how this works. If you want some more information on these tricks, I'm giving a kind of a simple explanation of them. Definitely check out zeldaspeedruns.com. They give a in-depth explanation on how to do these tricks and how they work. But essentially that trick is one of the most important tricks in this run. Actually, it is the most important trick in this run, I'd say by far. So here, we're actually not supposed to be here. We're here as a child. You're normally supposed to be at this part of the game as adult Link, right after you beat Ganondorf, which is a fight that requires the light arrows. So, Child Link cannot use a bow, and it's very difficult. It takes a lot of time to get light arrows as a child, so that very conveniently skips a very huge roadblock in the speedrun. Because Ganon himself, the final fight, does not require many items, other than just a way of doing damage, which we have our sword here. So instead of doing the hyper-extended super slide, we're actually just going to go down the tower. Takes a little bit of time to do this, but it's extremely consistent. If I ever do try to improve this run, I think I will learn the Void Warp. But at the time of this run, I was not ready yet to do that. So you may notice on the splits, I'm actually quite behind my PB about 9 seconds, and some of that is actually just from bad luck. Another thing I neglected to mention is that Goma actually waited before attacking me. That's called Goma Troll sometimes. That also wastes a few seconds, just purely from bad luck. So there are some things in this run that can cost you time, pretty much through no fault of your own, from bad luck. So going through this tower, it looks pretty easy, but the one thing you have to really be careful about is to not touch one of those burning rocks that are standing, or just sitting there on the ground. The falling rocks you can get hit by, although they'll do damage. If you touch one of those burning rocks, not only will your shield burn, but if Zelda is on screen, the game will crash and your run is over. Even if the game doesn't crash, you pretty much need the shield to do the infinite sword glitch and power crouch stab, and without it, you'll have a very hard time completing the game, and it will be much slower, so your run is also over. So there we did the Deku Stick Jump Slash to store the power crouch stab value of the Deku Stick Jump Slash, and with the infinite sword glitch, it keeps swinging the Deku Stick over and over with that same power, so you can take care of these Stalfos very quickly. It's a very interesting mechanic how you can combine those two glitches of power crouch stabs and the infinite sword glitch to do so much damage, every single frame, essentially. So we're almost to the tower here. You just have to be pretty careful navigating through these rocks. One of the easiest ways to do it is actually just to follow Zelda. She won't direct you into a burning rock. Like I said, you can get hit by the falling rocks, but you don't want to take too much damage. This hallway is actually pretty scary, but follow Zelda and don't try to jump too far ahead of her, or she can actually push you into one of those rocks. This room, or this bridge basically, has a single redead, but if you spam A, which makes you roll very quickly, you actually will not get stopped by the redead because of the invincibility frames you get at the end of a roll. Very close call there, almost got hit by the rock, but luckily managed to avoid it. And time for one of the longest cutscenes in the game. This cutscene can be pretty scary for some people just because if you're on an extremely good run, it's kind of like a huge break in the action, and you have to be ready to play well when the Ganon fight actually begins in a minute or two from now. The general gist of the Ganon fight is that you're going to want to get the infinite sword glitch, and with the Deku Stick Jump Slash stored as your power crouch stab and ISG value, and that will allow you to do damage on Ganon very quickly. And one interesting fact about it is that normally when you do this fight as an adult, when you play this game casually as adult Link, all your items will only do 1 damage on the first phase of the Ganon fight. Even the Big Goron Sword will only do 1 damage but for whatever reason, the Deku Stick actually does the full 4 damage of the Jump Slash. I guess the reason for that is that they never expected you to be here as a child and be able to use Deku Sticks, because Adult Link can't use Deku Sticks. So this cutscene is actually a little glitchy. Young Link will kind of move up and down because the game's trying to compensate for him being, you know, too short compared to Adult Link. He's kind of hovering in the air for a little bit there. So again, we're going to want to jump slash with the Deku Stick. You can jump slash into the cutscene. I jump slash a tiny bit too early, but that doesn't waste too much time, luckily. And if you look at my possible time save, it's very high on this split. That's mainly because in my PB, in my previous PB, I missed a lot of the infinite sword glitch. It's a 1-frame trick, so it can be pretty tricky. Luckily, in my previous PB, I didn't die because of it. What can happen here, if you miss the infinite sword glitch and you don't react properly to missing it, Ganon can hit you and he'll kill you in 1 hit. Every Ganon hit can do 4 hearts of damage, so even if you get the heart piece in this run from the Deku Tree, you're still going to die in 1 hit no matter what. So the goal here, you can get ISG with the Deku Stick, but I equipped the sword. It's a little bit easier to get ISG with it. And second try there, and we quickly pull out the Deku Stick, and like I said, it's swinging infinitely. So that will allow me to do a ton of damage to Ganon very quickly. Just 3 hits there and he's down. Very quick and pretty good first phase there. So Ganon knocks the Master Sword out of your hands even though you don't have it, which is extremely convenient because you need the Master Sword to beat him. If that didn't happen, you didn't just get a Master Sword for free, then you wouldn't be able to beat Ganon. You have to get ISG again there, and once you get ISG, it's pretty much done for. One nice thing about doing this fight as Young Link is that you can just run under Ganon's tail, whereas Adult Link has to roll under it, although it can be scary at times because if you miss ISG, you get hit, and that could be it. So coming up on the end here, something pretty embarrassing is about to happen, and you guys will see it pretty quickly, but luckily it only wasted around a second. A swing and a miss, and there we go. Yeah, so I missed the final Ganon hit, second try there. Pretty silly. It's because I haven't practiced that part a lot. That can happen. It's not too big of a deal, although it can make you look a little bit silly. So yeah, I saved a bit of time there at the end, 15 seconds on that final split, which allowed me to beat my PB. So all in all, this run was pretty good. There was definitely some issues with just bad luck on the Kakos, the Skulltulas, Goma, but overall the execution was definitely there, I'd say. And I'm pretty happy with this PB for the strats that I used. There are some slightly faster strats that I can upgrade to, as well as doing the Void Warp trick on the Tower Collapse. So I think if I return to this category ever, I will definitely learn the Void Warp. I might do some runs for fun on the Wii U Virtual Console, which is English only at the moment, just to see if I can get a decent time on that. But otherwise, I also, when my hands are better, of course, might also look into learning a different category of the game, such as No Wrong Warp actually interests me quite a bit. But otherwise, yeah, I think that's about it for this run. Thank you to Zelda Speedruns for, letting me learn a lot about this game. Thank you to Tahlorz, Tahlorz, who taught me some things in this game, as well as my strat for the Red Rupee in Zora's River. Definitely appreciate that a lot. And yeah, if you enjoyed this run, then definitely subscribe to me on YouTube, which is probably where you're watching this. And subscribe to me or follow me on Twitch if you want to see more live runs in the future, and Twitter down below with the links down below. And yeah, like this run if you enjoyed, and let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments, of course. And I will see you guys in the next video. And yeah, so hopefully my hands will recover soon, and I will be able to do more runs for you guys. But yeah, great run. Had a lot of fun making this, doing this commentary, and I will see you guys in the future. I'll let the credits play for the hell of it. Thanks for watching, guys.